The body of a young model lies dead on a snowy London pavement, having fallen from a penthouse flat. Did she jump, or was she pushed? This looks like her job for Cormoran Strike. I haven't read any of the crime novels J.K. Rowling has written under the nom de plume Robert Galbraith, but it is easy to imagine the problems she might encounter plonking a down on his luck private investigator into contemporary London. How does he afford his Soho rent? What purpose does an old-fashioned gumshoe serve, now that the rest of us do all our own snooping online? And how can a character called Cormoran Strike introduce himself to strangers with a straight face in the new BBC adaptation Strike the Cuckoo's calling BBC One, Sunday? Most of these difficulties are at least acknowledged. Early on, someone says private detective, that's a bit Roger Rabbit. Cormoran Strike Tom Burkers himself is a very modern pie. He lost a leg in Afghanistan, and he is also the estranged son of a rock star. In fact, he is rather more interesting than he needs to be, but his elaborate backstory will no doubt come in handy later. Strike's new office temp, Robin Holiday Granger, walks into his life just as his girlfriend is walking out. They pass each other on the stairs, and just before a childhood acquaintance, John Bristow, presents him with a case of the dead model, who was Bristow's adoptive sister. "You weren't hard to find," says Bristow, "because there aren't that many Cormoran Strikes out there." Tick. Actually, almost everyone has a singular name, Guy Sum, Tansy Bastigui, but this is a convention of detective fiction. There are at least half a dozen potential suspects, and we can't afford to get them mixed up. This adaptation works hard to maintain a balance between raw authenticity and the hokier demands of the genre. Sometimes the contrast jars, as when a woman on a street corner shouts "Fiver" for a hand job at the passing strike, but mostly it succeeds. Burke plays Strike with just the right amount of grubby nobility. He is disheveled, but not quite disgusting. He talks to his artificial limb, and pees in a cup when he can't be asked to put it back on. Strike inhabits a London that is both quaint and menacing, full of greasy cafes, darkened boozes, and the kind of restaurant where villains might have a regular table. No one ever eats lunch at Pret. Granger and Burke are an engaging double act, while stalwarts Martin Shaw and Tara Fitzgerald form part of the wide range of suspects. We haven't met Striker's rock star dad yet, but I'm sure he is in the wings. Henry Singer's film Diana 7 Days BBC One, Sunday looked back 20 years at the week preceding the funeral of Princess Diana. Princes William and Harry were among those speaking about their memories of that sad and strangely febrile interval, along with Tony Blair, Alastair Campbell and some key members of the royal household. We all remember where we were that week, but it can be hard to accurately recall the public mood, the charged air in the country, the process by which sadness gave way to anger. The footage, more than the recollections, brought it all back. A man looks directly into a TV camera and says, "It's you, the press, that killed her. You're the scum." As the week progressed, some of that anger was transferred to the Queen. The outpouring of public grief, the flowers, the wailing, the vigils at the palace gates, caught those in charge on the hop. They didn't know what it was, or what to do about it. Tony Blair sought to characterize it as a successful resetting of the relationship between the British people and the royals, a transition he artfully stage-managed. With the advantage of 20 years hindsight, it all looks rather more toxic than that. The public, abetted by the media, gave itself permission to embark on a mass intrusion into private grief by trying to own it. The Express headlines appeal to the Queen, "Show us you care," now reads like a challenge, "Show us you care as much as we do." It was the week we forgot that two young boys had lost their mother. Then again, hindsight isn't always the best vantage point. A man camped along the funeral route described the mood at the time in a way that seems devastatingly accurate now. "Without any disrespect," he said, "it's like going to the movies. Diana's something we're allowed to cry about. We're allowed to touch on our emotions through her.